Well, good morning. This is the Lou Rockwell Show, and it's great to have as our guest this morning Kane, also known as Glenn Jacobs, professional wrestling star, a champion of a number of events in professional wrestling, also an intellectual and a libertarian, student of Austrian economics, a guy who's a lot of fun, I might add, too. For those who've not heard him before are about to find out. So, Glenn, this horrendous internet sales tax bill is about to come up in the Senate. Is that right? Are they about to try to foist this on us?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for that great introduction, Lou. That means a lot coming from you. Yeah, from what I understand, there's going to be a vote Monday there on so-called Marketplace Fairness Act, what is also being called in our circles the Internet Tax Mandate Act. There's already been a number of test votes, but it looks like Monday will be the real deal.
And, of course, this has been promoted by, I guess, the big box stores. I mean, they're the ones who are afraid of internet sales. Fairness, right? Whenever the government uses the word fairness, right, hold on to your wallet, it's always they're about to pick your pocket. This is designed in its impetus. Of course, the state wants more money. I mean, they always want more money.
Right, exactly.
But the particular impetus for this is the brick and mortar stores that are very upset about the fact that internet sales are outpacing them, and they want to punish internet retailers with this tax.
Exactly. And of course, you're exactly right. That's the excuse for what will be another new tax. Unfortunately, many Republicans have once again revealed their true colors because this is being pushed. It's a bipartisan effort. It's being pushed by Republicans. In Tennessee, where I live, the Republican governor, Bill Haslam, has taken the lead among the states in pushing for internet sales tax mandate, as have the two federal senators that we have, Lamar Alexander and Bob Corker. And yeah, they use the rubric of fairness to justify this particular measure. But of course, as you say, what it's really to benefit is the big box stores. This is not going to benefit the mom and pop brick and mortar retailers. And the reason for that, as I pointed out in an article that you were kind enough to publish, is the fact that this is going to leave less money in the consumer's pockets, and they're going to have less money to spend on various goods. And that's going to probably benefit the big box stores because, in my opinion anyway, they're the guys that can absorb a lot more cost, of course, than mom and pop can. And they also sell, like, if you go to Walmart, of course, you're going to see the wide variety of stuff that they sell. Mom and pop specialize in certain things. So if the consumer is left with less discretionary income, that means that mom and pop are going to suffer. And it's going to be a benefit to the big box stores. And one thing that I haven't heard brought up once in this conversation is the fact that anyone can go out and start an internet business now. Anybody. It's not very hard to get set up with a website and internet commerce. So even the idea that somehow mom and pop can't compete with the internet is ludicrous because all they have to do is start a website and they can sell online too.
No, of course that's right. Has there ever been a government bill passed in history where it wasn't just a lie? I mean, they never tell the truth. They don't tell the truth about anything. Everything is a lie. The Republicans are all liars. The Democrats are liars. And so this is just the latest example.
Yeah.
And as during the last Depression, of course, the states and the localities are especially becoming even more predatory, just like the federal government.
And one thing I should point out, Lou, is also one of the arguments that is being made by the Republicans, who are, of course, are always about law and order and good governance, is the fact that laws are already on the books that require, if you buy something out of state, you're actually supposed to report it to the state and then pay sales tax on it. No one does that. I mean, I don't know anybody that does it. I don't do it myself. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but no one does it. So when they're saying that this is already on the books, so it's not a new tax, that's absurd. It is a new tax because it's not being enforced. And if it's not being enforced, we haven't seen the economic impact of it yet. And that's what's going to happen. The internet sales tax mandate is we will actually see the economic impact of a new tax, despite what Republicans are saying.
And it's going to lie more heavily on small internet businesses than the big ones because, of course, sales taxes are extremely complex in the way they're levied. They're levied by city. Everything is different in states and different within states. It's a very complicated matter to figure it out. Once again, business is called upon to be free tax collectors for the government,
right,
and rip people off with this money and send it to the politicians.
And I can't believe that I'm about to say what I'm going to say, and please don't kick me off of your show. But the much maligned Commerce Clause of the Constitution, this would be one example of something that it was supposed to stop. The states taxing entities in another state. And basically what we're seeing is going to see, as you say, a very complex system instead of the free trade zone that the United States was supposed to be. So this even runs contrary. Of course, the Commerce Clause has been used as an excuse to tremendously expand the size of the federal government. But Senator Lamar Alexander from Tennessee was talking about how this internet sales tax mandate was an exercise in states' rights. Well, it's not, of course. What it does is the federal government is putting certain mandates that tell the states, if you want to collect sales taxes on the internet, you have to do certain things. That isn't advocating for states' rights. And on the other hand, this would be, for once, they could use the Commerce Clause to tell the states, no, you cannot do that. Instead, of course, they're doing the exact opposite.
Isn't Lamar Alexander a creep?
In my opinion, he is the establishment's establishment. He is the guy. I've done a little research into Senator Alexander, and he's worth between $20 and $30 million. And I'm not a class warfare person. I would love to see everybody become as wealthy and as rich as they possibly can. But in Senator Alexander's case, a lot of that was derived from the fact that he invested in education companies while or shortly after he was Secretary of Education under the first George W. Bush, a department, by the way, that Ronald Reagan wanted to abolish, or said that he was going to abolish when he was campaigning. So, Senator Alexander, definitely, when we look at an establishment politician, that is Lamar Alexander.
Although I'd have to say that Reagan was an establishment politician, too, because he added a new cabinet secretaryship and rather than abolishing anything, and he massively expanded deficits. And
unfortunately, his rhetoric while he was campaigning was much better than the actual what happened when he was president. I would agree with you with that.
I've always thought that there should be 100% income tax on any member of the House or the Senate on their entire income, not including what they get as a congressman or a senator. So that, and that's the same with being governor or being a state rep or a state, they should not be able to profit off the government. Of course, why do men go into politics? One of the reasons is to make a lot of money. I mean, they can give us all the rest of the regular eyewash, but they love power, and they use that power to make money. And for other reasons, too, of course, other things, too.
It is very unfortunate, but it is a statistical fact that if you want to become rich in America, one of the ways that you can do it, a guaranteed way, is to become a member of Congress. Because while the rest of us, of course, have, in many cases, seen our incomes and wealth and our standards of living drastically decline, on the other hand, theirs has exploded. And, there's even a news blurb that I saw. Of course, it didn't go very far. We heard that there was going to be this bill which is going to limit the Congress's ability to engage in insider trading. And I think it was the same day of the tragic and terrible events in Boston. I don't remember if it was vetoed or President Obama did something which essentially neutered the bill. So, they always protect their own, it seems like.
No, yeah, of course. And that's exactly the kind of thing they do under the cover of a crisis or a hysteria of emergency. Meanwhile, of course, ignoring all the other killings that take place in this country. 20 people killed in Chicago the other day. Nobody cares because it's not seen as aimed at the government, whereas terrorism is seen as aimed at the government and therefore has to be taken much more seriously and have a police state and lock everybody up in their homes and all the rest of the things they did in Boston.
Exactly. It's terrible. It's terrible. Truly.
So what's your prediction? It's going to pass the Senate. Is there any chance the House will stop this?
It doesn't look like, from what I understand, the House is much less open to passing the internet sales tax mandate. It'll probably get through the Senate because the test votes have already showed that it will, but it doesn't look like it will in the House. But nevertheless, there's a lot of debate going on. And of course, unfortunately, again, anyone that thinks that the Republicans are going to save them from a new tax, they should probably be sent to an asylum at this point, because that never happens, and it's not happening now. We're hearing the debate of the quote unquote benefits versus the drawbacks of this particular bill. Something I also like to point out, Lou. I think this sort of also reveals, I don't know, maybe a bit of a deeper philosophical problem when people look at the market. Let me give you an example. In Tennessee, the beer tax on beer wholesalers is 17%, which is the highest in the country. From what I understand, it's also very unfair because whereas everybody else around the nation is taxed by volume, in Tennessee, they're taxed by the price of beer. Fortunately, the legislature has address that to some extent. And they've passed a bill which is going to freeze the tax, which won't help the beer wholesalers currently, but as we move forward, it will as other states probably, raise their taxes. But in any case, the beer industry didn't go out and say, hey, I think that everybody should have to pay 17% taxes on everything. Instead, they lobbied to try to get the tax lowered on their product, which is what I think they should be doing and what we should all be doing. And it's like, instead of saying, okay, because I'm shackled, I want my competition to be shackled. What they said, which I think is the right thing to do, is, hey, how about we at least loosen the shackles on me and maybe everybody else too? And that's what we should really be talking about. And that's what the politicians and the so-called conservatives and Republicans should be talking about, is trying to lower taxes, sales taxes, as opposed to slapping a new tax on someone else to try to make it quote unquote fair. I mean, just because I have shackles on me doesn't mean that I should advocate for someone else to be unfairly punished.
Glenn, has anyone estimated exactly how much money this is going to put in the hands of the parasites?
Well, yes, but those estimates have proved to be drastically overstated. Again,
because of course this will depress sales is one reason they're overstated.
Exactly. And again, somehow Tennessee seems to be the nexus of where this is all coming from, because it was an economist from the University of Tennessee that came out with the study and said that it was going to provide, I think nationwide is like $22 billion. I know in Tennessee that Bill Haslam saying it's going to be between $300 and $500 million. However, there are certain states, New York and California, which have negotiated, say with, for example, Amazon has a presence in their state. So Amazon pays sales tax to them. They negotiated a contract and all this stuff. And in any case, they found that the estimate of what they would generate is dramatically overstated, 3-4-fold of what was actually generated. As you said, I guess when you get into politics, that part of your brain which does economic calculation atrophies and it just goes away at a certain point, because they don't seem to realize that, hey, if you slap in Tennessee, our sales tax is almost 10%. If you slap another 10% onto a product, people are going to buy less of that product. So, of course, the amount of tax, if you're using static accounting and saying, okay, this is what we're going to generate based on the sales now, what they don't take into account is, as you said, the declining sales due to the fact that people have to pay more for the product due to the tax.
Glenn, asking politicians these questions is like inquiring of the burglar who's just broken into your home, what's going to be the economic effect of your actions? He doesn't care.
He doesn't care, no, because he gets to run off with the money and spend it. You're exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly
So
right.
They're all just liars, and they're all predators, and they're all thieves. They all believe they have a right to other people's property, other people's lives. They really are a terrible bunch. And of course, we're living at a time in America when these creeps, not only in terms of internet sales taxes, but in terms of the police state and 101 other areas, are being massively empowered.
But I do believe there is some pushback at this point. Some of the polls that I've seen, thank goodness, with the internet sales tax mandate, are showing significant. People realize, hey, I like to go on the internet and I like to save money because I'm not paying that 10% or whatever it is in sales tax. Generally, the polls that I've been seeing are running 60-75% opposed to a tax on the internet, and I think that's great. And I think people are starting to wake up and say this whole thing, this tax and spend, and as you say, just giving the government all this power and all this money, we're going to have to start rethinking about that. So that gives me a lot of hope going.
Well, maybe we have hope that people will put pressure on the House anyway, even if the Senate is lost. And this is also an educational opportunity, something that you have taken up wonderfully in writing and broadcast. Try to explain to people why this tax is such a horrendous idea. Keep it up is all I can say.
Well, thank you. And as per usual, it's been, in this case, Ron Paul, who's been one of the leading voices, along with his organization, Campaign for Liberty, our mutual friend, Norman Singleton, that have done a lot of the heavy lifting in this. And for that, they deserve a lot of credit.
Thank you very much, Kane. Glenn Jacobs, keep wrestling these creeps to the floor of the ring.
Thanks, Lou. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, thanks so much for listening to the Lou Rockwell Show today. Take a look at all the podcasts. There have been hundreds of them. There's a link on the upper right-hand corner of the LRC front page. Thank you.